Yo, what is good, party people? It is your boy BQ with your TNA Impact review. This is the Impact Lounge. It's your TNA Impact review for December 5th, 2024. Recording this very, very early for you guys, 3 a.m. on a Monday morning. And I don't like Monday podcasts. I don't even really like Sunday podcasts. But as I mentioned during the Turning Point review, the holiday, because I went out of town for the holiday, just threw my week off. Was a little hard to catch up with things, but with this upcoming episode, the review won't be so late. I'm going to give my thoughts soon enough on the announcements of TNA going to New York, LA, all those good things. I'll probably push that off another week because this podcast is coming out a little later. We're just going to jump right into the action and review the episode. And as I said at the for the next podcast, we'll get into that stuff. So let's do this one time for your mind. Get into this episode of TNA Impact.
TNA Impact. Oh.
So this kicks off with an X Division showcase. This is a number one contender match for the X Division Championship. We had Trent. I'll have a number 7.
I don't want lunch. I want breakfast.
Clearly, I wasn't talking to you, big titties. You cherub-looking motherfucker.
Game changer, Kushida.
Probably the greatest free agent signing in the history of professional wrestling.
Ace Austin.
Is this your card?
Yes, oh my gosh.
It's not, is it?
No,
Johnny Dango Curtis.
These are spirit fingers. And these are gold.
And Leon Slater. Leon Slater is the only person on this roster I think I don't have a sound drop for. That shows how much they really got to find a way to repackage it. Not repackage. That's not a good term because he's fairly new in the company. Like we don't have to redirect Leon Slater at this time. But even though he's very fun and very flashy in the ring, there's no personality to him. There's nothing that I can like work with at all. So we're still working on the Leon Slater sound drop. We'll see when that happens. So as I said, this was a number one contender match for the digital media champ. I'm so used to talking about Laredo Kid for the X Division Championship. And this was a very, very good way to start out the show. Solid episode, by the way. Solid episode. This is a very, very good way to start out the show. These kind of X Division matches, even though for me personally, every time you start adding another body in there, I get a little less interested because I kind of prefer one-on-one matches for the most part when I'm watching wrestling. But they did a very good job here. They historically have kicked off shows with these kind of matches, and everyone got their shit in, as the kids say, and eventually game changer Kushida gets the win here. So they're like feeding Moose contenders for the X Division Championship from the bottom. You start with Laredo Kid, move up to Kushida, move up for you start with guys who don't beat anybody, and you start moving their way up. With Turning Point, though, I kind of got into this whole rant that I want to see Moose at this stage. Like, these are the right opponents. Laredo Kid, Kushida, these are the right opponents. But I don't want to see them have competitive matches. I know a lot of you probably do. I don't. I want to see Moose whoop these motherfuckers' asses, and then you start kind of, okay, now is this someone who could potentially challenge for the title and win? That is more the story I'm going for. But I do think Laredo Kid and Kushida should I think Laredo Kid should have lost in 4 minutes. I think Kushida should lose in 5, but I don't think that's what they're going to do. They're going to make sure Moose has competitive wrestling matches with people half his size. But storyline aside, at Final Resolution, it'll be the game changer, greatest free agent signing in the history of professional wrestling against Moose, and it should be a very, very good match. May not be the kind of match I want, but that does not mean it won't be very, very good. So great X Division match to kick this thing off.
Oh!
Then we have Gia Miller.
Jesus Christ! voice. That's perfect. Of course you're here right now.
She is backstage with Tasha Steelz.
We got a badass over here.
I've said I think Tasha Steelz is the best all-around knockout on the roster. I've said that for a little bit, and I kind of doubled down on it. This was a very good, these little backstage interviews with Gia Miller are usually kind of throwaway. It's part of the cookie cutter format of the show. Match, Gia Miller, and then you got someone talking about they're one of the greatest professional wrestlers on the planet. This was different. This was, you had Tasha Steelz. She cut a really, really good knockouts promo here. This is very, very underrated. She is very, very underrated. And I thought she did an excellent job here. Then, of course, she leaves Gia standing there like a goof, like they always do with these interviews. Next match on the card, the returning PCO.
Smells like Bigfoot's dick.
He teamed up with the returning Sami Callihan.
Oh, you gotta give him that hawk too and spit on that thing. You get me?
AKA Salami Calorie Ham. And they had a tag team match with the good hand jobs.
Hey, for another 60, I'll jerk you off in the parking garage.
Believe it or not, all three of those sound bites had to do with a penis. That's pretty interesting. Anyway, they had a match here. Very very random tag match, right? We haven't seen Sami Callihan on the show in forever. We haven't seen PCO on the show in forever. And then they take on arguably the bottom tag team in the company. So at first I had a little bit of interest because I'm like, well, they clearly need tag teams. So with Sami and PCO going to be a tag team, because God forbid this fool PCO defend his titles. Or defend his title. I think he's just going to carry the other one around. You remember they had a storyline for Bound for Glory where Alicia Edwards was going to have to relinquish the Knockouts tag team title because she was injured. She got legitimately concussed in a match. She was going to have to relinquish the title if she didn't defend it within 30 days, so they had to find her a replacement. PCO has not wrestled. He has not defended his title in like a month and a half. And it doesn't look like he's going to defend it for the rest of the freaking calendar year. So, that's why they throw these little... There's just logic loopholes that, probably the majority of you don't pay attention to. But I do, because I am a king of the nitpicking. So they had a match here. It is what it is. Sami and PCO win. And then they have they won with a Brooksy Bomb, version of the Brooksy Bomb. So we're using other people's finishers on the show. Now, Sami is the one who flipped PCO forward. They didn't do it to the opponent. So it was a version of the PCO salt, I guess. Before I get to what happened in the match, at the end of the match, there was nothing to talk about during the match, trust me. I didn't realize this until after I finished reviewing Turning Point, that your opening match ended with a spear. The next match didn't. But then the third match had Rhino hitting about 3 gores in the match. And then the match after that, Moose wins with a spear. We're just everyone's got the same finisher in this fucking company. And that's why I brought it up. They're using a version of the Brooksy Bomb. We're just rotating freaking finishers throughout the show. So after this match, there is a big 23 on the screen. Now, at first, I didn't know what it was. Well, no one knows who it is. But then Sami was the one running around. Is that for me? So it's not directed at PCO. It's directed at Salami Calorie Ham, the bread machine. Whoever dropped this vignette, not a vignette, I don't even know what to call it. But whoever dropped this, they were probably sitting... they were like, thank God this fool Sami is finally wrestling on this show, because I've been trying to drop this on the big screen for like 3 months now, but this fool is never here and he never wrestles. So finally, Sami wrestles so that this person could drop this 23 on the screen. Unless Michael Jordan is coming back, I don't know what 23 means. No one seems to know. I caution you, people. No one does. I've been saying this. No one does the surprise worse than TNA? Nobody. Okay. TNA has their strong points. They have their weak points. This is one of them. Miro is not debuting in the middle of the card versus Sami Callihan. I see you guys. I see your social media comments. Miro, you're who else? Baron Corbin. These dudes are not debuting in a, I don't even want to call it the middle of the card. Sami Callihan is not a part of this fucking show. And he is not relevant in the show to debut a main eventer. Okay. So watching Mike's show and some of the comments that he was reading and conversations he's had with people, they think it's possibly Sami Callihan. Because now there's this like random alliance now of Sami and PCO. When the match starts, Tom Hannafin, how do you even communicate with PCO? Because PCO doesn't like speak English or whatever, right? Maybe that's why he had travel issues and couldn't get to Turning Point. Imagine this guy went to Southwest, went to the ticket counter. How can we help you? He's just like, Turning Point, Southwest. But they have this like random alliance all of a sudden. So could it be Sami Callihan because he wants to get his hands on the coveted Digital Media Championship? The prestigious Digital Media Championship? I don't know, but at least it's a little bit of a mystery. It's a little, gives us something to turn into. It's a story. So, we'll see what happens. I just wouldn't get too one of the cats jumped up here. This good old Buddy. Buddy is a female. People think it's a boy because her name is Buddy because when she was a kitten, this is my wife's cat. They thought it was a boy. One of my cats we thought was a boy as well, so she has a male name as well. But anyway, it's a story. It's something to tune into. I really implore you to not get super excited about this because the surprise opponent, surprise tag team partner, surprise in general is not a strong point of this company. So I it's probably someone on the roster. No, it's probably not, but I just wouldn't get too crazy about this. So after this, they promoted this. We're going to hear from Nick Nemeth. They had a graphic and everything. And he's in the hallway. There's red and yellow lights. They got to go find where the lights are. So this company randomly sets up the lights like in the basement, and then the wrestlers got to go find the lights to cut their promo. So Nick Nemeth.
I've been talking to people walking here. We've been talking about next year, and I'm sitting there saying, I'm not going to be here.
Starts talking about his 2024. Who knows where this promo was even going? Economy class walks up.
But I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
So we know the final resolution's coming up. We need a main event. We need an excuse for a main event. So AJ Francis just walks up and who have not beat anybody. These guys, since Rich Swann left, they have not done anything. And AJ Francis was a very featured part of the show just a few months ago. And he was doing all this goodwill for the company. He was bringing all these social media influencers and athletes, and they were coming on the show and making the shows kind of feel big time, feel important, even if we didn't know who these people were. It's very important for the branding of TNA and the brand recognition to do this kind of thing, because this is how when you're marketing a company, when you're working on a brand recognition is very, very important. That's how you freaking grow. And I'm not saying it with I don't know who any of these TikTokers are, little nuts and sexy tits and all these people that he's bringing on. But it does help the exposure of the company, and it's a snowball concept. Like you kind of start from the bottom, TikTokers, whatever, and hopefully you work your way up. but he was doing very goodwill for the company. Problem is, he did a program with PCO, and no one benefits from a program with PCO. Go through all you guys who are PCO's opponents in 2024, 2023. Who has come out on the other side of these and been somewhere different in the card, or even been a part of the card? Like, working with PCO does absolutely nothing for you. So maybe that's why they've got potentially have Sammy Callahan working with him, because he's not doing anything anyway, and it's like, not really a feature part of the show. But it's a death pill to work with PCO. So I'm telling you, go through his feuds and tell me who after working with him, even Steve Macklin after working with him lost his world title immediately in the next match. You know what I'm saying? So that was one of the few matches PCO lost. But I just feel like working with PCO is like the death pill for your freaking career in TNA. So AJ Francis has been largely irrelevant since working with PCO. But he got himself a world title match. Joe Hendry got to start from the bottom, potentially wear a turkey suit, but not AJ Francis, who's on first class, is basically on a losing streak. He gets this world title match. So and for AJ's for me, he was one of the better parts of the show for the majority of the year when he was featured. And then they're talking back and forth. They're in the basement. They're down. They're in the halls. They're downstairs. Guess who the fuck walks up? Guess.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Santino, always conveniently there, and he makes the match our final resolution. And he called AJ Francis some stupid name because he is trying to rehash what was funny that he did in WWE, messing up people's names, but they are very rarely funny in TNA. After this World Tag Team Championship match, the Hardys,
Wonderful!
defending against the System, Eddie Edwards.
All right, son, I'm gonna need those 2 hams back.
I don't have any hams.
Lift up your shirt, son.
And Brian Myers.
What is she going to think when she comes in here? Oh, look, he's got a billion toys.
I feel like 95% of the matches that had to do with the Tag Team Championship this year have featured the System. The System's very heavily featured part of the show. With the exception of JDC, these guys have held championships, for the majority of the year. It's getting a little stale. They have to redirect the System here a little bit. Now with Moose, having him hold the X Division Championship, thumbs up. But Eddie and Brian Myers, they've got to find something here to prevent this from being stale, because we're here at December and these fools have been wrestling for the titles in one way, shape, or form all year. And it seems like they're fighting the same people over and over. They had to have taken on the System, the Hardys 3 times this year already. There was Bound for Glory. There was a match where they got disqualified. Maybe it's only 2. Maybe it's the third one. It just feels like they've been fighting all year with these guys. So I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. I knew the titles weren't going to change hands because they don't really do that on TV. I thought they were just trying to get the rematch out of the way so that they could move on to something else. Usually when you random contractually obligated rematch on TV, Tom, usually it's like throwaway rematch, move on to the next thing, right? I thought that's what they were going to do here. They had a pretty long match. Hardy's obviously over as hell, as they always are when they come out. And they always come off as a big deal in TNA. Like I watched their AEW run. And they were just always afterthought. Everyone's an afterthought there, but they were always afterthoughts. They just didn't come off like big stars on the show. They didn't win any notable feuds, notable matches, nothing. You know what I mean? And at one point, Matt Hardy was a very featured part of the show, and he was still losing. His gimmick was that he was like Big Money Matt, but his stable was all jobbers. So, it was Private Party and Butcher and the Blade, who at the time, neither of those teams beat anybody. So they come off like such a big deal in this company. It's awesome. But I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. I kind of posted this on Twitter. So we have the whole tag team match. And in the end, the system, mainly Alicia Edwards here, because of Alicia Edwards, they get themselves intentionally disqualified. Okay? They lost. They lost the match. They didn't lose because it wasn't a no contest. Someone didn't run in and ruin the match. They lost. They lost on purpose. Okay? Alicia Edwards hits the Hardys with the kendo stick, and she's very proud of herself when she does this, even though she caused a loss, caused them to lose, because she knows in the back of her mind, oh, TNA booking. Okay? So they put the Hardys through to tables because the Hardys tried to pull out tables at one point. So apparently that was legal during the match. Now, if the Hardys put them through tables, this is one thing. Again, the system got themselves disqualified and put the Hardys through tables. Santino comes out.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
And this dude has the worst announcements of all time. He lets us know a final resolution. There's going to be a tables match. A tables garbage match.
Get that garbage out of here!
And it's for the tag team championships. So the system, this is their contractually obligated rematch. They lost. How do they get another shot at the titles? If you want to do the table match, do the table match. System, end of the line. You lost. You lost on purpose. So Alicia hits you with the Hardys with a kendo sticks, and that just resets the rematch clause. So it just logic loopholes that I don't think people want to see the system and the Hardys wrestle again. Like we're getting it again. You know, it's like they're just dragging it out because they don't have tag teams. But if you really want to have this match, you could have just had the Hardys put the system through the table in the match and get themselves disqualified. That would have justified the rematch. But the system loses, and they get another shot at the titles. So, and it's going to be a tables match because the garbage matches are like fast and loose right now in this company. I mean, they're pretty much every other week. You cannot go 2 weeks in a row without some kind of garbage match. So after this, we got a little backstage of Spitfire.
Tell me right now that I'm just a job. Tell me to my face.
You're just a job.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
They've done this with Spitfire a few times where they do these, they're backstage, and Jody Thread is very, very upset about something that happened weeks ago. I mean, she's sitting here losing her mind, pulling her hair out because I think she lost to Ashley Elegance like 3 weeks ago. So I like it's not even a relevant part of the show at the moment. This was bad. They're bad. They're trying to get this little Chihuahua thing over for the personal concierge. It's not going to get over. I don't know. Maybe you guys like them a lot more than I do. I think just because we've had, even though the Knockouts tag team division is awful, it's been awful. We've had some good champions. When I say it's awful, like it's not a shot at the wrestling, the wrestlers. I'm talking about like for stories, and maybe not every title needs a story. Maybe that's so bottom at the card we don't need stories, but there is a formula. Put a tag team together. You will wrestle for the titles. You will win the titles. And then when they need to get the titles off someone because they're leaving the company, which has been, look at the history of the Knockouts Tag Team Championship since they brought them in. A good portion of the people who have dropped the belts was because they were leaving, or someone was leaving, or or you know what I'm saying? Like there's very rare instances where they're just like straight up lose the title and then they get a rematch or whatever. You have about 3 or 4 times that Decay had to win the titles out of necessity because of that reason. And they are just the least interesting of the group. We've had the inspiration, we've had the influence, we've had uh, I don't know if the Death Dolls won them as the but we've had Vexed, Deanna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green, Decay obviously, uh MK Ultra. So in that sense, they've put together a list of some really good champions. Now, are they having feuds that are worth a damn? No. Do they have opponents? No. You know what I mean? But they've put together some very good tag teams, very good champions. Like if they had a real division, they could have done some really, really interesting stuff. Spitfire just does not like pass the sniff test for me compared to all these teams, you know. But that's the team that they want to be multiple tag team champions and all that stuff. But yeah, this was just I don't know. Maybe I'm probably spending too much time on this. I probably am. But yeah, next week it's gonna be Danny Luza versus I think Heather by Elegance. I think that's the match that they said was gonna happen. They're just gonna wrestle nonstop until they can justify Ash and Heather wrestling for the belts, which is unnecessary because again, all you have to do is put together a team and you're going to wrestle. So, and then it has PCO and Sammy Callahan walking around backstage. They run into the conversing Jake something and Hammerstone.
Loud noises! I don't know what we're yelling about!
They say, "Are you 23?" I would imagine Sammy walked up to every single person backstage and asked them if they were 23. It says these were the two people that were like, "No, but we'll fight you." Did anyone else challenge them? I wonder. So we're gonna get looks like we're gonna get a tag team match here very soon. Jake and Hammerstone. God forbid. God forbid we do anything with this team. So it's a good thing we're gonna get them on screen. And they're gonna wrestle PCO and Sammy Callahan. So again, maybe PCO and Sammy are a team, and I'm all for that. It's really random. It's out of nowhere, but they work together. You know what I mean? It's not like you're not like, oh, Leon Slater and PCO are a team now. Sammy and PCO, that works. And if it means we're building up some kind of tag teams in this division, I am all for it. Like, I don't want to watch Hardys versus the System anymore. I like the System. I just want to see them do something else. They have nothing for them, clearly. But maybe they're 23. I don't know. There's just a good chance that it's someone from the roster. I hope it's not. Because it's end of the year, close to Genesis. Like that's kind of a debut time frame, right? Like if this were, I don't know, around Rebellion time, I would guarantee you. I need that sound drop. Charles Barkley, guarantee. I would guarantee you that it was someone from the roster. But because it's around that time of the year where you start debuting people, contracts run out, new contracts are signed. I'm sure it's somebody. I just would not get my hopes up that it's somebody that was in the main event at WWE, someone who had a featured match at WrestleMania. I don't think they're showing up to attack Sammy Callahan. What did we have after this? Oh, we had knockouts, tag team action. So not tag team action, it was singles action. So we had Tasha Steelz once again. She took on Jordan Grace.
Get me out of here!
When I reviewed Turning Point, I was saying that I thought, and again, I'm clearly not in charge over there. I thought Masha should have won the match 2-0. I would have done something crazy. Jordan's leaving. All you guys that got in the comments here, Jordan's not leaving. She's going to resign. Jordan's leaving. She doesn't need to look strong on the way out. Don't beat her like Deanna Purrazzo, but she didn't need the fall. Because the story was for a long time, Masha can't beat her. So Masha finally beat her. Like I would have just had her decisively beat this woman. I'm not saying Jordan job out. That's not what I'm saying, but I would have just had Masha win 2 falls to 0 because we don't see that in 2 out of 3 falls matches. This would have been something like memorable and really established Masha Slamowicz. But they didn't do that, of course. So we had Jordan Grace versus Tasha Steelz, good match. I was telling myself Tasha needs to win this. Again, don't treat Jordan like Deanna, but Jordan doesn't need the wins at the same time. Like Deanna was losing for like half a year. Jordan Grace is out of here next month. So at this stage, Jordan doesn't really need to win. They're probably going to give her some kind of feel good moment at the end. But fortunately, Tasha Steelz did win here. They cheated, of course. The kendo stick came into play once again. I don't know if she actually hit Jordan with it, but I know Alicia did distract Jordan Grace enough for Tasha Steelz to get the win. During this match, Tom Hannafin is once again confused on who the blonde lady that wears makeup is, that wears face paint, who watches the knockouts matches. He is once again has absolutely no idea who this is. Needs like 15 seconds to realize it's Rosemary. And it seems Tasha's going to get a title shot. Like they're muddying it up. What I hope they do is, no, never mind. They already announced the match. So Tasha, who beat Jordan Grace, she didn't beat anybody else. She just cheated to beat Jordan Grace. That earned a title shot for final resolution. So I've been saying this for a little bit, that just lack of stories, excuses for matches. That is what we're getting. And that's kind of the WWE ran into this problem when they started booking pay-per-views every single month. Because the TNA Plus shows are essentially pay-per-views. They happen every month. It can be difficult to, hey, how do we put a story together to to justify some of these title shots? But that's one of the reasons too I've been saying don't feel the need to defend every single title at every one of these shows. I just used the Alicia Edwards PCO example. Clearly, you don't have to defend the title every 30 days. PCO isn't. So, make one TNA Plus about the Knockouts world title, and then make the next one about the world title, and the next one about the X division. That way, the roster is just too small for the champions to have to defend the title every single month. You feel me on that? So, Tasha Steelz again cheats to win. This justifies title shot. Rosemary will probably show up for that match as well. Tom Hannafin will be completely confused on who this lady is watching the match. She has blonde hair, face paint. He has no idea who it is. So that she's probably going to do that, and then she will do something to justify wrestling at Genesis. So, and then after that, your guess is good as mine what they do with the Knockouts title. Maybe Kylan King returns as a heel, and maybe she establishes herself as the next opponent, but I don't know what the hell they're going to do. They're going to start doing the Masha Open Challenge. That's that's what you got to do when you got nobody. She's going to start just kind of randomly defending the title. Main event time. We got to get Joe Hendry out there because we force him onto every single show.
Believe that.
And I've been saying that I'm not saying give Joe Hendry a break, but at the same time, give Joe Hendry a break. They're doing, it's like the CM Punk treatment when he was with AEW. He didn't wrestle a whole lot, but they found some excuse to get this motherfucker on the show and play his music every single episode. Didn't matter what show it was, even Rampage. They had him on commentary just to force CM Punk onto the show and play his music. So they're kind of doing that with Joe Hendry right now. And I told you motherfuckers, starting at the bottom meant turkey suit match, number one contender match, number one contender. That's starting at the bottom for TNA. Joe Hendry did not run through a list of, he didn't start at the bottom, and he didn't have a one-on-one match with John Skyler. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just wrestled in what they consider to be the absolute bottom. The turkey suit match, the turkey bowl, and then that got him a number one contenders match. So they were getting a number one contenders match, by the way, at Final Resolution. Him, Josh Alexander, who just lost the match at Turning Point, He gets a crack at the strap. Mike Santana and Steve Macklin. So this match here, implications, freaking final resolution implications, right? Matt Raywall.
Hey man, I really appreciate that Patrick Price on my insurance, Jake from State Farm.
So the competitors in this match, King of the Block Party, Frankie Kazarian.
It's a block party. I'm not playing with y'all, bruh.
Josh Alexander.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
And the other members of the Northern Armory, Sinner and Saint, Kid Icarus and the Wizard, Walt Williams.
I'm just a job?
People have been asking about the whole Northern Armory thing that Jay does. I believe that's the way Canadians pronounce Northern. Am I right? Someone can fill me in. Their opponents, King of the Rah Rah and star of the hit TV show Vinyl Obsession, Eric Young.
I think those times are like the rah rah speeches and like getting everybody up, because like nobody really get motivated off that stuff anyway.
Steve Macklin.
For the land of the free.
I do have a shorter sound drop coming here for Steve Macklin, so stay tuned. And then Mike Santana.
That's nasty.
This was kind of a long match. Everything else that happened on the show was kind of quick. Like we kind of got through the episode. It was a pretty easy episode to watch, honestly. It didn't feel like everything took forever. This kind of took forever. We're missing someone here in the main event. For some reason, I was thinking this was a 6-man tag team match. It was a 8-man tag. So my bad. We forgot Jonathan Gresham.
Pinky, the octopus.
So this match kind of took a long time. Good old Tom Hannafin tried his absolute damnedest on commentary to make the entire thing about Joe Hendry and let us know, to be in rare form, telegraphing Tom, to let us know that Joe Hendry is going to win this #1 contender match and move on to Genesis. Like he did his absolute he tried his absolute hardest to do that the entire match. And shout out to Joe Hendry for redirecting the conversation every single time to the action going on in the ring. And he spent part of the match trying to put over AJ Francis, calling him one of the best professional wrestlers in the world, because that's everyone's fucking gimmick, even AJ Francis. That's one of his gimmicks as well now too. Everybody, you know what I'm saying? Undertaker, best professional wrestler in the world. At some point, someone has to be a character, and someone has to have a gimmick, and it cannot be about who can do the coolest moves, you know. But yeah, he's constantly putting over everyone in the match. Some of the best will lace up a pair of boots. We get it. All right. But yeah, Tom was doing his absolute best to let us know Joe Hendry is going to win this match. But good on Joe Hendry for redirecting to the action really just about every single time. So very long match. It's great for Kid Icarus and the Wizard Walt Williams to be involved in this and to be involved in the main event, because when they debuted these guys, I'm like, yo, they're really good. I also don't really see them doing anything. But you kind of got to get them there, because there's not really a lot of tag teams in the company. They're one of the few heel teams. So they're probably too young and inexperienced to work with the Hardys. But if you can get them kind of elevated in this main event scene, maybe you can justify that match down the line. They're not going to win, but maybe you can justify that. Ultimately, Frankie Kazarian, who's doing nothing, hits Jonathan Gresham, who was the only person that was going to take a pin in this match, with the Call Your Shot Gauntlet trophy. Josh Alexander gets the pin. Josh gets the win because he's going to get pinned at Final Resolution. So everyone has to win matches. Everyone has to be a winner of some point. So that's what they did. They did Frankie Kazarian. We're trying to build you as a contender, but we make you lose. So at least you can hit Jonathan Gresham with this thing. So you do something cool in the match. Josh Alexander, you might be out of here. You're going to lose at You're going to take the pin at Final Resolution from Joe Hendry to make some kind of full circle shit, because last time there was a multi-person match at Slammiversary. Joe Hendry beat you, so now you beat Joe Hendry, so now Joe Hendry's gonna beat you at Final Resolution. So you got to get a win here, whatever. So I think the Northern Armory is a good thing. I fully expect Eric Young to take over that stable here come Genesis or whatever. That's what I truly think is going to happen. They're going to try to do some modern day Team Canada shit, and then we'll get the return of Scott D'Amore. I'm totally kidding with you guys. So that's it. That'll do it for me. Sorry for the review coming out Monday morning, but I am your boy BQ, and I will see you again in a few days to talk the next episode. I'm out. Peace.